I didn't get a chance to tell you I was out there on the patio, but yeah, I loved it. Um, Probably 10. I don't know. I wasn't out there. They were drinking coffee, but I was just out there. I like it out there. I forgot my flowers, but I guess I don't have to worry. There's
I think there are plenty of flowers there.
They bring a whole bunch, I know. Here, let me get you in.
Isn't it?
It always does.
Well, that'll be.
Now, I know your husband is doing this sermon on the last Sunday, May 1st. So I gotta look at these songs again.
You like another one? I have one. You want that?
Start. Hello. It works. Good morning. Happy Easter. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Greater Naples. I'm Patty Bryan, and I'm your worship associate for this morning. Today, I'm joined by a terrific group who are all important to this Easter worship. Our guest speaker today is our affiliated minister, the Reverend Jennifer Dant. Reverend Dant served this congregation as Director of Religious Education for 6 years and was ordained right here in 2014. She was a staff chaplain at the Naples Community Hospital and currently is the program director for Youth Haven. And we have our music directors, Sean and Abby Allison. In the AV room, we have Ken Hartman, who's sitting in for Dan Goodsit. We have the children of UUCGN, the ushers, the greeters, and our wonderful choir, all of whom are helping to make this morning happen. We're so glad that you've joined us, whether you're here in the sanctuary or out on the pavilion, or if you're watching us on Facebook at home. Please know that you are always welcome here. We are a welcoming congregation, freely seeking intellectual and spiritual growth. We strive to create a larger community of peace, justice, and love. And we try to live those values out in public. If you're new to our congregation, or if you found us online for the first time, we hope that you will email our administrator at office@uunaples.org so that we can include you in our regular email news blasts and let you know about the upcoming learning and fellowship opportunities right here at UUCGN. Today, all over the world, people celebrate a Jewish man who had the radical idea that we should love each other. His message has been passed on for over 2,000 years. Let's all strive to show loving kindness to everybody. What the world needs now is love, big time. Now, take a deep breath and let's settle ourselves into the Easter worship with this morning's prelude.
Good morning. For holy days on which we recall the old stories, we light this chalice. For Passover, which reminds us of the courage and strength of those seeking freedom in the past, we light the flame. For Easter, which reminds us that our love is our greatest challenge, we light the chalice. Thank you. For the opportunity to be together as a community, to remember the past, to plan for our future, to be alive in our present, we light this chalice this morning. And I invite you for the response. May this flame stir our hearts and remind us of our mission to be truly welcoming, to grow in mind and spirit, and to widen the circle of peace, justice, and love. Our opening hymn today, Come Sing a Song with Me, number 346. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. One thing about UUs, when the minister forgets to say stand up, y'all are going to stand up anyway. All right, we're going to do something that I think hasn't been done for a really long time, especially in light of COVID. I'd like to invite the young folks down, because I want to tell you a story. If they want. If they don't want, I'll still tell everybody the story. Brentley, really? I'm going to call you out. Thank you. Have a seat. Sit, sit, sit. So, in the city of Prague, in the land of Czechoslovakia, oh, really? Okay. I got you. You have to face me. Okay. I love working with kids. Hi, you. So in Czechoslovakia, in the year of 1923, there was a church, but it didn't look much like a church. It didn't have any chalices or candles. It didn't have any big steeples or bells. It didn't have any stained glass windows. It was just a church, plain and simple. But it did have some things. It had 4 walls, it had a floor, it had a ceiling, it had some windows, and it had some wooden chairs, some hard wooden chairs, but that was it. But the church did have something. The church had people. And the people would gather every week, and they had a minister, and his name was Norbert Chapek. And there's a picture of him right there. You see him? He was the minister of that church for about 2 years.
I feel like I've seen that picture before.
You probably have. It's been around this building for a long time. And every Sunday, the people would come and they'd listen to Minister Chapek talk and say his words, kind of like what we do here, right? And then afterwards, the people, they'd sit in the hard chairs, they'd listen to him speak, and afterwards, they might talk amongst themselves, and then they would go home. There were no treats or coffee or the wonderful things out on the patio like we have. Very plain, very simple. So an idea came to Minister Chapek when he was out walking, and it was springtime in Prague. The rain had been there, the birds were singing, and things were blossoming all over. And it occurred to him that the flowers, the things that were growing, were so beautiful. So what he did the next week is he said to people, bring a flower. Bring a flower next week to church. And they're like, well, what kind? What size? What color? He's like, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Find a flower, a twig, a blossoming branch, and bring it. And that's what they did. And so there were, like here, there were colors, there were sizes, there were fancy flowers, simple flowers. And this is what he told them. These flowers are like ourselves, different colors, different shapes, different sizes, but each needing its own kind of care, but each beautiful, each important, and each special in its own way. And when the people left, they each took a flower, a different one than what they brought. And that is how today we are doing the flower ceremony, the same ceremony that he created back in 1923. Okay? But I'm going to need your help. You guys are doing a scavenger hunt, I heard. You're going to find cans for your food project. And when you come back, we're going to hand out these beautiful gifts that you all have brought. So Mr. Sean's going to play some music, and Miss Stephanie and I are going to help you, and you're going to pass out the flowers to these beautiful people here. And when you hand them, think of it as a present. You all brought the gift of these flowers. You're going to help us give it back to the community. You willing to do that? Yeah? Okay. Sounds good. I think it's time for your scavenger hunt then. If you want, we'll go out with Miss Stephanie, and we will go to the next music. Today, the spring has now unwrapped the flowers. It's number 63 in your hymnals, and the words will be on your screen. And my guess is you don't stand for the centering hymn, right? I'm learning.
It's okay. Doesn't matter. Spring has now unwrapped the flowers, day is fast reviving, life in all her growing powers toward the light is striving. Gone the iron touch of cold, winter time and frost time, seedlings working through the mold now make up for lost time. Herb and plant that winter long slumbered at their leisure now be stirring green and strong, find in growth their pleasure. All the world with beauty fills, gold the green enhancing. Flowers make glee among the hills, set the meadows dancing.
Community where we find connection, a spiritual community where we find meaning, a sharing community where our joys are amplified, and a caring community where our sorrows are lessened. Each week during our service, we set aside this time of community, a time we come together to share our individual joys or sorrows, and in doing so, help build bonds of love and understanding. At this time, we remember those in our lives who are struggling or who are celebrating milestones. We honor those in the wider community who are ill with the virus or who have lost a loved one or who serve on the front lines to help and to serve others. We hold all of them in our hearts. Our hearts go out to the family of Lyle Warnick, who passed away on Tuesday, April 12th, and there will be a service for him up north. We're also thinking of Michael Rux, who is recuperating from heart surgery at NCH, and I'm told is actually watching this service right now. So hi, Michael. Finally, a celebration of life for Jake Rose will take place right here at 3 o'clock on Monday, May 9th. And now it's your turn. First, we'll discuss the sorrows. As I point at your area, you may speak out the name of a person about whom you grieve or are concerned. And we'll start right over here. As I move my hand, you can call out that name. And now we'll do the same for joys. As I point, you speak out the name or names of those whom you celebrate now. Excellent. Bravo.
This is a time to settle yourselves, take a breath, relax into your body if you're comfortable, and if you're not comfortable in your body, spend some time in your mind. In this moment of worship, we call to mind those times of failure and regret common to all of us. We remember first in silence those times when we have failed to do all that we meant to do, or through our actions failed to be all we were meant to be. We now recall moments of integrity, those times that we lived into our deepest values and acted as the human beings we always dreamed of being. Let us choose at this moment to lay down the burden of our shortcomings and grasp the courage to begin anew. Together, we affirm the capacity for goodness and grace, for freedom and purpose and joy. We are not trapped in our past, but freed by creation to live and grow today. With gratitude, we say, blessed be, and amen. This morning's story of the first flower communion held in Prague is how most Unitarian Universalists, it's how I was introduced to it. It is one of the few truly Unitarian rituals in its origin. However, this plain and simple ceremony or celebration belies a deeper complexity and origin that I would like to explore with all of you today. Norbert Čapek, originally a Baptist minister, came from Catholic roots. He was deeply engaged with community, local politics, and the world around him. And this lifelong spiritual searching and questing stayed with him. It was with him in the very beginning. And it called him to speak out about social justice issues And that is what eventually brought him to Unitarianism. Back then, there were the Unitarians and the Universalists. So we're talking about just the Unitarians. But his positions, as you can imagine, were frequently at odds with the Catholic and evangelical church powers of the time. They were always watching. They were watching what they considered his heretical words, actions, calling people up to notice what's going on. But while being watched as a heretic, Čapek was seeing others, truly seeing the other human beings. He wrote and preached about economic injustice and corrupt power, writing in 1911, "What do we fight against? Our fight is against lies, mendacity, deceit, bullying, and everything that belittles, enslaves, or would destroy a human being. Churchmen should be leading the same fight, should be welcoming our efforts and consider us their allies. But alas, it is far otherwise. They fight amongst themselves for supremacy. For them, religion is only a mask, and ethics of quite less consequences." So this idea of truly seeing or recognizing and caring for one another is still a dangerous, heretical idea, isn't it? The gospel of Jesus, talked a little bit about that this morning, this idea that we are here to love one another. The Holocaust, Rwandan genocide, Trail of Tears, American slavery, Black Lives Matter, don't say gay. Over and over, human beings choose which side of history they're going to be on. So do we watch with passive horror and sometimes gleeful menace? Or can we see with courageous compassion and daring action? To see in this way, to live this way, is exhausting. Who isn't exhausted, afraid, unsure? I know I am. And Čapek at times certainly was. He was a family man. He loved to write music and write poetry. We're going to hear one of his hymns later. He was a family man, twice widowed. He married his third wife, Marie, and she worked right alongside him, even after his death. And that's how the flower ceremony came from Prague to the United States, was through Maria. He had 11 children, 10 survived. And in 1939, February of 39, Maria Norbert said goodbye. She left to go on a lecture tour here in the United States, and they never saw one another again. By March, Czechoslovakia is occupied by Hitler. World War II is declared in September. By 1940, the Unitarian Church is under surveillance, and once again, Čapek is accused of treason, but this time he's arrested for his heretical teachings. And although acquitted from the treason, he was also charged with listening to foreign broadcasts. And for that, he had to do some time. He was an older man by now. He was going to do a short amount of time, and his family was expecting him and his daughter, who was also arrested, to be released. But the next month, following the assassination of Rudolf Heydrich, the Butcher of Prague, by Nazi resistance fighters, all bets were off. Norbert Čapek, old and frail, was sent by invalid transport to Dachau. 14 months later, he was executed, still helping by seeing others around him.
by the Reverend Dr. Lynn Unger. What a gathering! The purple tongues of iris licking out at spikes of lupin, the orange crepe skirts of poppies lifting over buttercup and daisy. Who can be grim in the face of such abundance? There's nothing to compare. No need for beauty to compete. The voluptuous rhododendron and the plain old grass are equally filled with themselves, equally declare the miracles of color and form. And this is what community looks like. This vibrant jostle, stem by stem, declaring the marvelous joining. This is the face of communion, the incarnation once more gracefully resurrected from winter. Hold these things in your sight: purple, crimson, magenta, blue. You'll be feasting on this long after the flowers are gone. As we take time to consider these words and today's whole message, let's also take time to show our gratitude for the community and all that it does. This morning's offering will be gratefully received, and very important, the whole plate, all of the offerings, are being donated to Ukraine Relief today. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, please consider sending a contribution today. The information that you need in order to donate is right on the screen.
spring celebration in many of our congregations. And like today, it's often seen as an acceptable substitute for the typical Easter services that so many of us, not everyone, but so many of us grew up with. However, this viewpoint, coupled with a lack of understanding for the ceremony's actual context, causes us to miss the point of the ritual. Chopek's intention was that the ceremony do more than celebrate individual uniqueness, gathered in community, look at all the diversity. Instead, it is a call to mutual commitment and caring for one another in community, regardless of differences. Chopek's words, each is to take a flower just as it comes, without making any distinction where it came from, whom it represents, to confess that we accept one another without regard to race, class, or other distinction, acknowledging everybody as our friend who is a human and wants to be good. He goes on to say, we need church organizations, for him it was religion, Unitarianism, to help us to share the beauties but also the responsibilities of communal life. By giving the best that is in us for common good, we grow up and are able to do what no single person can do. Each of us needs to receive in order to grow up, but each of us needs to give something away for the same reason. Each of us needs to give something away. The meaning of the flower ceremony speaks to the sharing, the communing, the exchange which humans need in order to thrive, not just survive. Paraphrasing Jesuit priest Father Greg Boyle, who founded Homeboy Industries, which is a gang rehab and reentry program. It's fabulous if you want to take a look. He says, can we live in awe of what the other carries instead of judgment for how they carry it? It is hard work. It's tempting to slip into cynical depression after seeing how awful human beings can be to one another. Yet in the midst of human cruelty, goodness and love show up. Love that can bear the pain and the grief and the blood, and that goodness that requires nothing to be earned. Instead, goodness ready, always ready to unconditionally share. Whether it's at an individual level or in community, the question is not what's wrong with you, but rather what happened to you. Because the former question identifies and sees the other as separate and apart from community. But the latter question is an invitation to look deeper, to engage with the other, and to risk being changed by them. It's a quest to truly see and know each other and ourselves through community. And in the end, it's the only thing that lasts. The only thing that lasts. In his final letter to his family, secretly arranged to get passed by the Gestapo, Chopek writes, "A letter came from you all, and with expressions of love and of our best and most beautiful dreams, and of those closest to us. Thank God for them, especially on this day. I can bear the remaining 4 or 5 hours, and I will not be downcast, but will rather give myself over to thoughts of you all who are most dear to me, the past and the future so well deserved, and one that I would have been so happy to share and lived with you so simply in the fullness of a tried and tested love for others and for God." One of my favorite colleagues says that our greatest human longings are not just to understand, but to be understood, to know, but also to be known, to love, but also to be loved. And none of these things are done individually. They can only be satisfied in community. Chapek understood these basic truths and lived them out his entire life. He created the flower ceremony to remind us of the importance of living out these communal truths through our gathering and ritual today. May we all feel understood and known and loved. Blessed be. I'm going to invite our wonderful children back in. So at this time, our children are going to be passing out these beautiful flowers as a gift. You all brought the gift to the community, and the community gives back. Okay. Let me do some up here, some up here, some up there. Here. Just take a bunch. There you go. That chaos? The mess? That's community, folks. That is community. So I would like to offer a blessing of these flowers. Spirit of life, transient and imperfect, these blossoms are still gifts of infinite value, like ourselves. Too often we seek permanence and perfection, resisting change and blind to our shortcomings. May these flowers today serve as a reminder, for despite their imperfections, they still have integrity. And though they are transient, they contain the seeds of transcendence, just like ourselves. Let us then also open ourselves to mystery and wonder, fretting not about small mishaps or even for now, great misfortune. Loving enough to share our strengths and our weaknesses, for the life of a new world is at our fingertips, and our own true inner glow can light the way. Our final hymn, number 64, Give Us Pleasure in the Flowers Today.
And today, I ask that you allow the choir to do the third verse on their own. The indication is on the screen. And please stand.
Not to think so far away as the uncertain harvest keep us here, all simply in the springtime of the year. Oh, give us pleasure in the orchard white, like nothing else by day, like ghosts by night. Swarming, playing round the perfect trees, and make us happy in the darting earth, that suddenly all the breezes heard, the winter and frost and wind beat will, and of the blossom in for this is love and nothing else is love, for which it is reserved for God above, to sanctify to what for ends He will, but which it only needs that we fulfill.
For our closing words, that's the perfect hymn because our one announcement today is that Lois Graydon at 11:30 will be offering Purple Martin education, and I hear that there are some eggs and possibly some baby Purple Martins. So I encourage you to stick around and go see the Purple Martins. And as you leave here today, know that you are loved. Know that you can come here and be heard and seen, and that we take that love, that compassion at the ready to share with others out in this hurting world. It needs it right now. Amen.